I was folding dish towels when Derek told me he was getting married. He didn't make a big announcement or come in with flowers. Just leaned against the kitchen doorway like he always did, phone in hand, and said, "Mom, I proposed." She said yes. I froze mid-fold. It took me a second to realize what he said. Then I looked up at him, and for the first time in a long time, I saw my boy again. Not the man with deadlines and a condo and a fiancé. My boy who used to line up his Hot Wheels on this same kitchen counter while I packed his lunch. "Oh, honey," I said, smiling so big it hurt. "That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you." I meant it. I meant every word. Because in that moment, it felt like something long dormant inside me came back to life. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't done being part of something meaningful. After he left, I pulled the old box down from the top shelf of my closet. Inside were folders, notes, pictures, ideas. I'd spent the better part of 15 years adding to them. Ever since my husband passed, I'd been setting aside a little here, a little there. The goal was simple. One day, I'd help pay for Derek's wedding, the one we never had money for when we got married ourselves, the one we always said our son would have, $60,000. That's what I had. Tucked away in a high-yield savings account and noted in a little leather notebook with my late husband's handwriting, "For Derek's big day, make it count." I stood in the soft afternoon light of the kitchen, hand on that notebook, and I felt whole. Not old, not forgotten, just ready. I made a cup of tea and imagined colors, flowers, music. I pictured myself helping with tastings, fittings, maybe even giving a speech. Not to control anything, just to help, to be there. Because after everything, after widowhood, quiet dinners alone, holidays with an empty chair, this felt like a beginning, like I mattered again. And I didn't know it then, but that feeling, it wouldn't last. A week later, Derek came by for dinner. I'd made his favorite, chicken pot pie, flaky crust and all. We were halfway through the meal when I brought it up. "So," I said, trying to keep my tone casual, "have you two thought about who might help with the planning? I still know a few good vendors, if you want recommendations." He didn't look up from his plate, just shrugged. "Taylor's already found someone, some planner out of Manhattan who's big on Instagram." I smiled anyway. "Oh, that's nice. Still, if you ever need help with venues or catering, Mom," he interrupted, finally glancing up. His expression was tight, like he was bracing for something. "I know you mean well, but can you just stay in your lane on this?" I blinked. "Stay in my lane?" He nodded like it was nothing. "It's Taylor's big day. She's got a vision. She doesn't want things to get complicated with too many voices, you know?" I looked at him for a long moment, fork still in my hand. I thought maybe I could just be part of it. I'm not trying to take over. He sighed. "I know, but we've got it handled." That was it. No malice, no big argument, just a sentence that slid under my skin like a splinter. Stay in your lane. After he left, I sat alone at the table. The dishes were cold, so was the room. It wasn't just the words, it was the ease with which he said them, like I was traffic to be managed, like all I had to offer was interference. I tried to tell myself not to take it personally, that weddings are stressful, that Taylor probably just wanted to keep things modern and clean, but still, something in me shifted, quietly, like a door closing from the inside. I'd waited years for this season of life. I thought it would be filled with connection, meaning, celebration. Instead, I was being asked to watch from the shoulder, and the worst part? My son didn't even notice. It started with a letter from the bank, a cream envelope tucked between grocery ads and credit card offers. I almost tossed it, thinking it was junk mail. But then I saw my name typed in that clean, clinical font only financial institutions use. Inside was a notification. Confirmation of a $40,000 personal loan under my name recently approved. I blinked. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe identity theft. Maybe someone hacked my account. My heart was already racing as I reached for the phone. The voice on the other end was polite but firm. "Yes, ma'am. The loan was processed online. The applicant used your name, address, social security number, and employment history. The authorization was marked as Family Member Proxy. Family. I hung up and stared at the kitchen tiles, my ears ringing. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe for a minute. I just stood there, hands flat on the counter, feeling the bottom of my world tilt slightly. It was Derek. It had to be. No one else had access to that information. I called him. He answered on the second ring, sounding distracted. "Yeah?" "Derek," I said carefully, "did you take out a loan? In my name?" Silence, then. "Mom, relax. I was going to tell you. I just needed the money quickly for a deposit. We had to secure the planner Taylor wanted. She books out fast." "You used my name," I said, my voice shaking, "without asking." "I knew you'd help," he said, like it explained everything. "You've always said the wedding fund was yours to give. I figured this was just part of that." No apology, no hesitation, just entitlement, wrapped in casual explanation. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. That night, I sat at the edge of my bed in the dark, staring out the window at nothing. The streetlight flickered. A squirrel darted across the yard. I watched it move. Free. Purposeful. I felt the opposite. I wasn't a mother anymore. Not in the way I used to be. I was a resource. A name to borrow. A line of credit to tap when things got tight. For the first time in my life, my own child had made me feel used. And that emptiness? It didn't come with shouting or slamming doors. It arrived quiet, heavy, and it settled right in. The next morning, I got dressed like I had somewhere important to be. Slacks, blouse, a little lipstick, habit from years of working in an office. I walked into the bank with my shoulders square and my heart bruised but steady. The young woman at the counter smiled politely. "I need to make some changes to my accounts," I said, "and cancel an authorization I never gave." She didn't ask many questions, just typed quickly, clicking those long pink nails across the keyboard. It took 20 minutes. In that time, I closed the shared account Derek had partial access to, removed all beneficiary links, and moved every cent of my $60,000 wedding fund into a new private account. I left a symbolic $100 behind. Not out of spite, just to make sure the old account stayed open. Appearances. I walked out of that building lighter, not joyful, not smug, just unburdened. That night, I opened the drawer beside my bed, the one I hadn't touched since my husband passed. Inside was the little leather notebook where he'd written years ago, "For Derek's big day, make it count." I stared at it for a long time before closing it gently and putting it away again. That promise, we'd kept it. But the day we imagined wasn't this. I poured myself a cup of chamomile tea, sat in the dark, let the quiet fill the house instead of grief. Then I did one last thing. I drafted a simple envelope with a note and a check for $250. "Dear Derek, I trust you'll make your wedding day your own. This is a small contribution. Wishing you both the best. Mom." No drama. No confrontation, just a clear boundary wrapped in calm. I wasn't trying to punish him. I was just done saving people who never asked what it cost me. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared to put myself first. 3 weeks passed before Derek showed up again. This time, no fiancé, no big plans, no excuses. Just him, standing on my front porch with his shoulders slumped and his pride deflated. "She's gone," he said, not even waiting for me to open the door fully. The planner disappeared, took the deposit. Taylor's freaking out. I stepped aside and let him in. No words, just the quiet creak of the old floorboards as he walked past. He dropped onto the couch like the air had left his body. She signed a contract before we had all the funds, said she needed to lock it in. Now everything's falling apart. The venue's backing out. We can't reach the planner. The phone's disconnected. I sat across from him, hands folded in my lap, calm, collected. I wasn't angry, not anymore. That storm had passed. "And what do you want from me, Derek?" I asked gently. He looked at me, eyes tired. I thought maybe you could help. Again. I exhaled slowly. Derek, I did help. I helped the way I was invited to. Quietly. Briefly. He flinched at that. She said we were counting on you, he mumbled. That you always planned to pay. I nodded. And I always planned to support your wedding, not fund your mistakes. He stared at the floor, and for the first time, he didn't defend her. He didn't argue or blame. He just sat there, silent. I'm not your safety net, I said. Not anymore. I won't save you from decisions I wasn't trusted to be part of. The words weren't cruel. They were calm, firm, like a door gently closing, not slamming shut, just clicking into place. After a while, he stood to leave. He paused at the door like he wanted to say something more, but didn't. He just nodded and walked out. I didn't follow. I didn't cry. I didn't call after him. Because I was done chasing people who only looked back when they were drowning. This time, I chose me. It didn't happen all at once. There was no grand gesture, no dramatic knock at the door in the middle of the night. Just time. A full season passed. Then another. Leaves fell. Snow came and melted. Life moved on, quieter than before. I stopped waiting for him to call, not out of anger, just because I had other things to hold on to. A book club at the library, weekend brunch with friends from church. I even tried pottery. My bowl came out crooked, and I laughed so hard it startled me. I was living. Not loudly, but fully. Then, one afternoon, I opened the door, and there he was, Derek. Standing on my porch like he used to after football practice, uncertain, tired, carrying more than just a gym bag. Hey, Mom, he said, can I come in? I nodded, wordless, not because I didn't have anything to say, just because I wanted to hear what he finally had to offer. We sat at the kitchen table, tea between us. The air carried the smell of cinnamon and quiet. He told me the engagement had ended. Taylor moved back in with her mother. The planner never resurfaced. The money was gone. She wanted a spectacle, he said softly, and I thought I needed to prove something, but I didn't even know what. Then, after a pause, I met someone. I said nothing, just listened. Her name's Emily. She's not flashy. She's steady, gentle. She asks about my day. She cares about the small things. She asked about you. He reached into his jacket and handed me a photo. Emily, standing in a garden, sunlight on her shoulders, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. She said if we ever got married, she'd want you to plan it, not because she wants Pinterest perfect, because she wants it to feel like us. I stared at that picture a while, then back at him. And this time, I said, am I actually invited in, or just expected to fund it quietly? He smiled, not defensively, not nervously, just real. You're invited, fully. Later that week, Emily and I sat in my living room, sipping coffee, flipping through swatches. She didn't try to impress me. She just listened, asked questions, wanted to know what made a room feel warm, what flowers held up in early fall. She let me be the expert, not the obstacle. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a woman whose experience mattered. Not just a mother, not just a checkbook, but someone worthy of being seen. I had stayed in my lane, and somehow, without forcing it, that lane led me right back to love. If you've ever felt pushed aside by the people you love most, I want you to know you're not alone. We don't always get the apology we deserve, but we can still choose peace. Have you ever had to draw a quiet boundary with someone you cared for? Share your story in the comments. And if this one found a piece of your heart, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and tell me where in the world you're watching from. Your voice matters, and I'd love to hear it.